this would be like the franchisor logging in and seeing payments this week across their whole brand this year, and then diving down leaderboards. Like, so San Antonio this year has generated 781,000 in revenue. Okay, what the hell is San Antonio doing? You can dive in to see, like the difference between like San Antonio and Boise. All right, so top revenue leader. Now let's look at appointments, and I can go into bookings and see. Okay, and to your point, it's like you can dive into when you have a franchise brand, you look at these KPIs and you're like, okay, what is really leading to that? And then that process is going to be on our platform because you're going to see how the franchisees are using it to drive that action. Really, the answers to those questions can be found here in the data. It's like they're sending these kind of email campaigns. They're, offering these kind of group events on a weekly basis that are leading to, this many appointments a week. I mean, we're trying to help franchisors create thriving franchisees. And, we feel that if they use Thrive, they can.
Hi, everyone. Today we have Matthew Gourgeot, the head of business and corporate development with Thrive. Matthew, welcome.
Thanks, Lance. It's good to be here.
Matthew, I'm going to share some of your insights and some action items on this call. But before we get started, can you just take a minute to explain Thrive and what you guys do?
Yeah, Lance. So we have 55,000 customers. Our customers are small businesses, small business owners all over the US, Canada, and Australia. We also have 36 franchise brands that leverage our software at the franchisee level. So these franchisors, whether they have 5 locations or 105, they're instituting Thrive at every franchise location. And Thrive simply helps small businesses manage the customer experience. So customer experience being, before, during, and after the sale. If you think of that customer journey, a consumer, their customer experience when they're interacting with your brand or your small business is just simply how they feel throughout that entire journey. And the problem that small business owners and franchisees face in 2023 is that consumer expectations are through the roof. We're interacting with these huge companies and they're providing us this easy experience. When we interact with a small business owner, we want a similar kind of frictionless experience, and it's grown really tough to deliver a great experience. So, small businesses are using many tools to manage that process, sometimes as high as 7 to 10 different tools to manage that customer journey. Thrive is an all-in-one platform that small businesses and franchisees can use to manage the customer experience. And we can get into a little bit of the different tools that are on the platform, but it helps to manage essentially the customer experience across the board.
Yeah, so all your scheduling and communications and marketing and reputation in one place without the use of all these other programs, which is very cool because then all the data can easily be shared in one place. I love that. What I wanted to talk about too is you guys have a template. So it has all the defaults in place and everybody can set it up. And then when a franchise has a new location, they can just start a new location right off this template. Easy peasy, done. They don't have to go and set it up from scratch every time. And I know that you guys normally charge $1,000 a year for that template, and anyone who signs up here, you're going to waive it, correct?
Exactly. Yep. When you work with us, and let's say you want to start using Thrive at all your franchise locations, you can customize our product to a certain extent, the settings, the marketing, the branding, and all that on our franchise template. Every franchisor gets a franchise template. And so that way, when you transition your current franchisees now or your future franchisees, our product team literally presses a button, puts in the new franchisees information. And that moment, we have a new account spun up. And that way, your new franchisee or you at the corporate level don't have to go in from scratch and create this new account. And it's a great product. It's a great tool within our product. and we normally charge franchisors $1,000 a year in order to, use it. But if you take advantage of the link below, we will extend that to you for free.
One of the great things about this software is it allows you to track and analyze your customers, your prospects, your leads, your franchisees, all this stuff. And you can track the top performers and bottom performers to see what's working and to establish best practices. Can you share some of these best or worst practices with everybody who's listening today?
Well, I think, it depends on what point of the customer experience or customer journey you want to talk about. I think on a kind of across the board level, consumers today expect things to be easy. They want things to be frictionless. They don't really want to spend a lot of time at any one point in your customer journey. So whether that's them looking for you online, interacting with your website, making a phone call, filling out a form, you coming out to their house maybe, or visiting your brick and mortar store, asking questions, paying you, you need to be very simple to be paid. It needs to be very simple to pay you. And then afterwards, if I have questions or whatnot, again, it's the simplicity of trying to make that as seamless as possible across every point of the customer experience, and you ultimately can do that through technology. But the customer has really high expectations, and they're only getting higher. The further and further we go.
Right. Well, is there anything that you want to share today that would help companies maybe increase their ROI?
Well, I'll give you like an example. So let's look at scheduling. 50% of all online appointments, like if you take appointments online, 50% of those are booked after 5 p.m. So, if you think about the customer in that regard, like they're interacting with your local business, if you only accept appointments over the phone and somebody has to call you between working hours in order to make that appointment, you're really missing out. And so if you can really empower the customer to book with you via your website or a scheduling, widget on social media or whatnot, that opens the door for you as a business owner. And that's just one of, endless amounts of data points that we can provide that show you how to really win with the customer.
I think productivity is a big deal, and a lot of companies are missing out because things aren't getting done. Can you share some of the maybe productivity sucks that you're seeing and maybe some things that people can do to increase productivity?
Yeah, I would, one, run an audit of your own, think about your customer experience and think about any manual process along the way, anything that you're doing manually. Salesforce ran a study a couple of years ago and found that small businesses are losing one full day a week. So 50-ish, 52 days a year in productivity to manual task, you know. And so I would look at the different points in your customer experience and like, what are you and your employees doing manually and what could be automated? So, I mean, I think as small business owners, we're if you're not, you know, really trying to improve the efficiency of your small business, then you're going to struggle moving forward.
I know you use the word friction a lot. I believe in that too. I think that friction is what holds us all back. And if we can find little ways to remove friction, we can increase the amount of time we have, how money we make, and stop draining ourselves and getting tired. So, with this software, I'm sure you guys have seen points of friction in the customer journey. Can you share some examples of what that would look like and maybe some things that people can do to reduce the friction in their business?
I think for small business and franchises, I think a big pain point would be payments. When we interact with big customers, like big, think of Amazons of the world, it's very easy, so simple to pay them, right? You think PayPal and Four, or just all these companies are the biggest companies of the world are working very hard to make it simple for their customers to pay them. And so when we get that experience on a day in and day out basis, then we turn to interact with a small business, you know, first it was cash and check. If you only accepted cash and check, right, you were missing out on all the people that would throw a big purchase on their credit card. Now, if you accept credit cards and maybe there's other ways now to provide convenience. So, for instance, an example would be like an HVAC or maybe a home service type brand coming out to your house. Well, you may offer a service that's maybe a little bit expensive. Let's say it's a few grand or whatnot. That customer either one needs to have a credit card balance that can pay you, or two, they need to have the cash in the bank to do it. But inside of Thrive's platform, we partner with WiseTech and we offer consumer financing. So a heating and air or any kind of home service small business can come out to your home, can say the job, and can get you approved for consumer financing on the spot. And that's the Thrive platform helping that small business owner turn a no or a maybe from a payment standpoint into a yes. And it makes it easier for that consumer to pay for that job that they want done within their home. And it makes it easier on the small business owner that's using it because they've received the funds, immediately. So that's just one example of, where payments can really cause a friction point where if you only accept a certain kind of payment, or if you're limited in your payment options, I mean, I literally might tell you, no, thanks for coming out. Thanks for the estimate. Thanks for the proposal. But I'm going to hold tight for a minute. That's a concrete example.
Yeah, I've had these situations where I wanted to buy a service or hire somebody, but it started becoming more labor intensive, a little harder than I thought, and I was just like, this isn't something that I really want. Now, so I was thinking, it's really all about keeping it simple, easy, effortless, and intuitive so that people just use it, right?
Yeah, I think the best companies, Lance, you're trying to empower the consumer. The more you're empowering the consumer to control the customer experience, the better. When as a consumer, when you have to sit back and you're kind of at the whim of the small business owner, that model is really not winning out. It's the small business owner that allows the consumer, sorry, to for instance, think about going on to someone's website and wanting them to come out to your house to book an estimate, and your availability. You can click on a scheduler and see their availability and book for that person to come out. If you think about the experience with home service brands over the last, I don't know, 100 years, you might give them a phone call. It rings, 6 or 7 times. They may or may not answer, right? You finally get someone on the phone and you're like, hey, could you come out, at such and such time? And that might take, only 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to have that conversation with them. But that's 10 or 15 minutes that the owner of the business or their employee and the consumer have back in their day by just simply allowing that person to be able to go on your website and book an appointment.
Well, I agree. Home services brands are so busy. It's hard to reach them, and then if you're calling them, you really need their help. And like something is broken, you want it fixed. So if I can't reach somebody, I might call the next person. But if I can't reach them and I can just book online right into their schedule, especially after hours, I have peace of mind knowing that I have an appointment. So I would love that.
It's why a lot of these franchises are building in-house call centers. It's because Bob, the franchisee in whatever city, I mean, he may be great at functionally doing the product or service that the brand offers, but may or may not be the best person on the phone. And to your point, may not answer because he's in the truck or he's out in the field or his team is and he's doing something else, and may or may not be the best closer or whatnot on the phone. But if you empower the customer to make that appointment, and your team can come out and hopefully land the job that way. But that's just an example, of trying to create a frictionless experience, empowering the customer, so that it's just really easy on all the stakeholders in the process.
Right. What do you see as effective online presence?
Well, I mean, one, you got to manage your Google profile. You've got to manage, you've got to claim and secure your listings, not only just across Google and some of the major platforms, but we partner with Yext to do this. And there's about 60 or 70 listing websites out there that when you're using the Thrive tool, we can go in and claim them and keep them up to date. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating. I mean, think of this, let's say you offer you run a brick and mortar store, and you're open at till 5 p.m. every day, and or let's say you're open to 5:30 p.m. every day. And last week you decide, okay, we're going to start shutting early at 5:30 or at 5 o'clock. And this consumer goes on their Google profile, sees that you're open until 5:30 because you haven't updated it, and then drives across town to be there at 5:10 and your doors are shut. That's a terrible experience, not just because your doors are shut, but because they may have just had to drive 20 minutes, from their house out to your business. So I think managing your online presence is more than just like, your website and your social media. I mean, you need to have a great website that's very fast, informative, and people can easily, use it. But then, your Google profile is becoming more and more, I think, probably the top priority as far as your online presence.
Yeah, I agree. And if it's questionable, we'll go online, check the hours, make sure it's supposed to be open. But then if we go out there and it's supposed to be open and it's not, that is frustrating.
Well, and there's one thing to this. This is the reason why I think you use Thrive to help manage your listings. It's that, if I Google such and such business, right, the Google profile is going to pop up in that section. But then you also have the organic listings, down below. And normally that's the website, but there's also a lot of other listing websites out there that might have it listed. And consumers don't always click the Google profile or the website. They may click a listing site. And if you're to this example here, if on your Google profile and on your website it says, hey, we're open till 5 o'clock because you've updated it, but you haven't updated it across the board, that consumer may see that, it still says 6 p.m. and they drive out there. And so what Thrive does, and this really was impactful during COVID, is that it helps you update your listings across all your update your profile across all your listings. So like when people were making really big changes to how you interact with them as a business, the people that had Thrive were able to log in and update it across 60 or 70 sites at once instead of having to go into each, listing site and update their profile. So that's just one of the many features, within Thrive that would make it easy on the business owner.
Oh, I love that. And your reputation online is your image. It's so important. So you guys actually take all the sites where reputation is found and reviews and stuff like that, and then they pull them all together in the dashboard, and people can see them all at once and address them, right?
Yeah. So if you think about another stat is, 85% of consumers view an online review as if it's the same as a trusted friend telling them, that the business is good or bad. So if you look at the major listing sites, Google being the main one, um, consumers can proactively go on there and leave you a review. Most small businesses try to solicit that, consumer, that customer at, whenever they did business with them, they email them afterwards, you text them, you try to get them to review. But within Thrive, yes, we have review management and review response tools in the platform that you're push notify, you get a notification when someone leaves you a review, and so that you can go in and respond to it. And then you can also use the CRM, the payment tool, and our text and email capabilities to, like, once a customer pays you, you can send them a review request, or you can send an email campaign weekly, monthly, whatever, to get them to respond to reviews. But the biggest thing is just responding and being notified that someone has left you a review. When you're a consumer and you're looking at a business's reviews, you're looking for, how many are there, and the recency. It's like, it's one thing to have a lot of great reviews, but if there hasn't been any in about a year or 8 months or whatnot, as a consumer, you may not be as comfortable moving forward, with that customer. So we're working on all that with our customers, to, one, drive reviews, but then also to respond to them in real time.
What would you consider effective social media? Because personally, I never thought that social media was going to catch on in the business space. I thought everybody was going to want it just for like talking to their friends and family, and that people wouldn't want to get a tweet from a Dorito or a Cheeto. But it's a thing. So I guess because it's funny. But what would you say people can do to be more effective with social media?
Yeah. So do you have an iPhone or a Samsung or some other kind of phone?
iPhone.
Yeah, I think we're both iPhone users. So, every Sunday I get that screen time update of how long I've spent on my phone. And if you look at the average American now spends between 5 to 6 hours a day on their smartphone. And roughly, depending the study you look at, 70 or 80% of that time is spent in app, like in an app versus, the browser or dialing. Um, and the lion's share of that time is spent on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, um, TikTok, and these others for a little bit younger crowd. But so I think just effective social media is to be there, to be there. That's where the eyeballs are. That's where people are spending a lot of time. Effective social media is not just to be putting, content out. It's to be getting, engagement from the consumers or the followers on your page. I mean, if you study really the algorithms around social media, in order to appear in other people's feeds, in order to get a lot of eyeballs and views of your own content, you need engagement. You need, likes, comments, shares, and there's a way to do that. But I think one, you know, it's really it's kind of a non-negotiable. You have to be on social media. You have to have a business page on the various platforms. Then you can look at driving followers and likes and stuff like that. But then you can look at your content and how to engage. But it has to be a core component of how you're going to market as a franchisor, as a franchisee, um, as a small business owner, and it's just table stakes. It's just the way of life now.
Well, I want to thank you again for joining us. I learned a lot. I took notes. I appreciate it. I love how Thrive organizes everything for people so that they can simplify it, keep it easy, put it all in one place. You can see high, low performers, leads, franchisees, all there. The stats, data, and dashboard is right there for you. Because the more organized you are, the less time it takes to do everything, the more you can work on your business versus in your business, accomplish more. Love it all. I love the $1,000 waiving the $1,000 template so that people can just use that for free when they get started. I appreciate that. And I just want to thank you for joining us and thank you for everything you shared today.
Thanks, Lance. I appreciate the opportunity to share about our company. And you mentioned a good word there, simple. So if you're looking for simple, click the link that Lance shares with you because we're pretty good at simple.